All right, welcome back, everybody, for a new episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those books that are still probably tucked away in those boxes at your LCSs, shops, wherever you're doing your comic hunting. These are not the hot books. These are not things that everybody's looking out for. And in some cases, some of these books don't even exist with my new segment, That Should Be a Cover. So just having a lot of fun talking about comics and things that I like. And hopefully you guys are enjoying this as well. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you want to see what crazy books I want to talk about this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have another installment of my new segment, That Should Be a Cover. Thank you again to Scott Wiman for the original idea over on comicbookinvest.com, where he did Wouldn't That Make a Great Cover? Again, I've been chatting with Scott. He's made some suggestions of some artists, and I am taking one of his suggestions already. And that first suggestion that he gave, well, maybe not his first suggestion, but the first suggestion I'm using is going to be Brooks Kim. Now, Brooks has a very interesting art style. There's a lot of sketch work. It's a lot of portrait work. I really dig it. I like it. I think Brooks is a Korean artist. He's got like an art station. I'll have some links below so you can see where his art is at and kind of check some of this stuff out for yourself. And he's done a couple of comic covers, not a lot. He's done a few. But just kind of show you some of the art that I kind of like. Now these won't actually fit for any cover because these aren't any superheroes or things like that. These are just some portraits of some portrait work that he's done that I just thought was really cool, and thought, again, we can just spotlight and just take a quick look at some of this stuff. I just dig it. His style is really cool. And again, there's some sketch work out there as well. He's a very talented artist, and I think we should be supporting artists like this. And he has done some work, as I mentioned. Bird City Comics actually has used him, I think, twice on some of their exclusives. So here are a couple of the exclusives that they've done using Brooks's art. I think this is a Vampirilla cover for year one. They sold this just as is, as you see it here. Virgin, issue. They didn't even bother doing a trade dress. And as I'm talked about doing this on this this segment before, I really like the idea of taking some of these beautiful virgin art pieces, but adding that trade dress to make it feel more like a comic cover that we would normally see. And so I'm taking what Bird City did with their virgin version and just tacking on the trade dress. Had they done a virgin in a trade dress, this is what the trade dress version would have looked like. And honestly, I would have been happy with this one. I like the fact that the trade dress would be up there in that space, because I feel like that space was a little empty without it. So I think this kind of fills it out, frames the whole thing as a full book personally. But again, this does, as far as I know, this doesn't exist. I just made this using the tools that I have available to me. So that's the first book, and they did another exclusive with Brooks Kim here with this book. This is another virgin for The Dead Lucky, I believe it's an Image title. Again, really cool image. I really like it, but just for fun, I figured, what would this look like if we threw some trade dress on it? I put it down below in this case because it kind of filled, that's where this empty spot, that was kind of where the dead space was. So I filled it with the logo and the Image 30th anniversary logo down below. Again, just for fun, to kind of make it feel like this is a real deal comic book. I mean, it is. The virgin version is, and you can go look for it out there if you're interested. But with the trade dress, I just thought I'd throw these on there. Now, those are a couple of books that do exist that I kind of played around with and kind of got me started. And some of these other ones are books that don't exist. So once again, just having fun with the art, trying to spotlight the artist and trying to show what could be. And maybe somebody out there will make these. Like one of these days, we can cross our fingers. Now, the first one I'm going to give you isn't even a comic book. I don't even know who has the rights to do this comic book. IDW had the rights to the Addams Family comics, but I thought this was a really cool Wednesday portrait, Wednesday Addams from the new Netflix series, and I thought this is really cool. This would make for a pretty awesome cover if they made a comic book version. Almost like I compared it to Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Imagine if they made a similar comic book series following Wednesday. I'd probably check it out with that kind of tone that they're delivering now, with her aged up a little bit, and again, just the stories that they're kind of telling. Looking forward to a season 2 already, but if IDW still had it, again, this is the Netflix version, so that's why I left the Netflix logo on there as well, so this way you can see it's an adaptation or something like that. Again, it's just something I'm making up. This doesn't exist, but this would be cool, and if this were on the shelf, I'd probably buy this personally for cover price. That's what I'm point. Yeah, that's why I'm doing this. I just think it would be fun if some of this stuff actually was out there. Now, the next one is technically a Prey image, but I figured, you know what? I like it. It is a Predator. So what if we made this a Predator cover? Maybe a variant of some sort. So I am a big fan of the Prey movie on Hulu. My son even likes it. And I think this would make a pretty awesome Predator cover, personally. So Marvel, make this variant happen. That's all I'm saying. I just think this would be really, really cool. It's got Amber Midthunder. I think that was the actress's name down below. I think this would be awesome. Again, I would buy this. If this existed, I personally would buy this. And you guys can let me know what you think in the comments and all that stuff. And again, make some suggestions of some artists that you'd like to see more of that you don't think is getting enough recognition. Just let's get some of these names out there. I'm just having fun talking about this. I love seeing new art and new artists. So feel free, make some recommendations, direct message me, DM me on IG, put it in the comments here. However you can reach me, just let me know, and I'll take it under advisement and see what we can do. So again, I'm just having fun with the community. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this as well. Got another book for you. Decided to shift over to DC. Let's give some DC love. As Brooks did this Catwoman piece. I kind of dig it, and I could see it being a Catwoman cover, couldn't you? I'd buy this. Once again, if this were a cover, I'd buy this. And I'm going again with the original like cover A kind of versions of things, because yes, we could go with the limited trade dress, but that kind of defeats the purpose. Again, since the Virgin art was there, you saw it. That's what I'm basing it off of, like a print or a Virgin art piece. I'm adding this other stuff to kind of make it look like it would be a cover A type of cover. So that's what I'm trying to do. I know, again, we can clean it up and do all that, so it'd be like, oh, you can just get the full art, but I like it this way personally, and this is what I'd be looking for if I was out there shopping. And I got another DC book for you, as Brooks also did a pretty cool punchline piece here. Once again, I zoomed this in. The full piece is a little bit more of a wider shot. You get a little bit more of her frame, but I had to zoom it in so it would frame itself right to make this cover, which, again, I'd get this. This existed, I'd get this. So threw the punchline logo on there, DC, all that stuff. Had some fun with the the barcode, the trade dress. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if this ever comes to fruition. We can cross our fingers and hope. Up next is a piece that he did with Death. Now, there isn't currently a Death title out there, but with the Black Label stuff, who knows? Maybe we'll get Death brought back. So I think this would be a pretty cool thing to put into a cover. Pretty cool art piece, Death holding the skull. So let's get us a new Death title. Let it be a mini. Let it be in the DC Black Label. I think it would be cool. Again, I would buy this if this existed. So let's see if we can make it happen. One thing that I've noticed, a lot of the digital artists and the artists that have their art stations, their DeviantArt profiles, things like that. A lot of them have a lot of fantasy genre type stuff, so that stuff kind of lends itself to me throwing it on some made up D&D book and whatnot. So I did it again. You guys saw I did it last week, and I did it again because when I was looking through Brooks's portfolio there online, saw this little goblin. I think it was like a goblin sorcerer. I thought it was kind of cool, so I was like, you know what? Let's throw this on a D&D title. And again, I think it would make for a pretty cool cover if it actually existed. Much like this witch. So we had this witch version here too. I kind of like it. Has almost like a Pan's Labyrinth kind of vibe to me. I really like it. And I figured, you know what? Throw the trade dress on it. If it existed, I'd probably scoop this up. And just again, I was going through the profile, looking at things and what made sense to me, and what could I pass some of these things off for? Because again, this isn't an actual D&D character that I'm aware of. This is just an imaginary art piece that I connected the dots to Dungeons and Dragons. Much like this piece here made me kind of think of Blade Runner. Do you guys? I don't know if you guys remember the Blade Runner series 2019. I think it was the most recent comic series. So I said, you know what? This Titans comics book, this kind of what it made me feel. This what it made me think of. So I was like, you know what? Let me try it. And again, this isn't the character from Blade Runner or anything like that. I just made this work. I just made this happen. So it looks like a cover to me. And if it were a cover, I'd be buying this. And I got one more. Again, I'm just having a lot of fun doing this. Hopefully, you guys like this. Again, these things don't exist, so there's no market report or no market for me to, talk about with these things. You're not going to be able to find this in your shop because they don't exist. It's just out of my head, taking artists' work and making it, if it were a comic, wishing this were a comic, trying to will it into existence, if you will. And my final one is this piece. Now, I think he entitled this like a seafood or something like that. But it's a girl, huge octopus down the back. She's got a little machete. So I was like, you know what? Would this be kind of a cool cover for this? I could see it being a pretty cool hack slash cover. So that's what I did with this one. So I made this one a fun little hack slash. Again, this is not the character that Brooks drew. I just kind of made it work with the art that I saw and said, you know what? This is what it made me think of. So it made me think of hack slash. Again, suggest some artists for me. If you like this, I'll keep doing it. If you don't like this, I'll get it. If you don't like it here, I can move it out and make this its own thing. Again, I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun doing this stuff. Hopefully, you guys are still having fun going on this journey with me, and hope you don't mind me just making up some fun covers for you. So, with that said, let's get on to our next segment. And our next segment is also a new segment. I want to thank I got a direct message from Kevin that was telling me about, what he wanted to see more of. He liked the Crouching Tiger stuff that I did on Dollar Bin Digging recently. And he said he wanted to see some more of like the movie stuff. On his IG, he's doing some tie-ins to some award-winning movies and their comic adaptations. Thought it was kind of cool. And I like that idea too. I like the idea of doing movies. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make a new little section for this. Again, check out Kevin Taylor Comics 2 on IG. Give him a follow. See the stuff that he's talking about. Because, again, he's talking about these movies and their tie-ins to, award-winning movies. Granted, I know Snakes on a Plane didn't win an Oscar, but it did win Bambi Award, Best Winter International Film Festival in 2006. So, it's just kind of fun. And then there's a comic adaptation. There's 2 issues. I remember that series. It's out there. So I said, you know what? This is a fun idea. So we're making a new subset section with nostalgia. We got oddities. You guys know we got variants. We got later prints. And now we're going to have some movie adaptations. So I'm going to have a whole separate segment for movie adaptations going forward. I mean, it's not going to be every week. It's going to mix in wherever we have books to talk about. So we're going to start off this new subset section with Kevin's idea. Snakes on a Plane. So let's take a look at it. It's kind of cool. This is Wildstorm made these. It's only 2 issues. There is a art version as well as a photo cover. So that's issue 1. And here's the photo issue for issue 1. Then there's issue 2. Again, there's an art version and a photo cover. So it's only 4 total covers for the 2-issue series out there. And this is not expensive at all. This is more of just kind of for fun. You could even consider, we can even put this in Dollar Bin Digging because you could probably scoop these up for $1. I know I have. I've picked this series up, these 2 issues before for $1. So they are out there. And you could see these sell pretty cheaply. What is it? $8 for all 4. So you get both covers for both issues, and then individual issues only like $1.50, $2. Very cheap. All undercover is what most of the sales have been for, and even the asking prices are pretty much there. I mean, $6 for 1 and 2 together, and then you got to pay shipping, obviously. And then there's another lot for a different version of 1 and 2, and that's $20. So some might be a little more expensive, some might be a little cheaper. It's a wide range, but realistically, these are probably out there for undercover at your shop. Whether it's in the dollar bin or just in a back issue bin, they're probably discounted in some way because not a lot of people are looking for this. And that's what I'm talking about. This is not stuff that I'm not telling you this is going to make you rich if you go and find this book. This one's kind of just more for fun. But then there are some books that you might forget about that are out there that you're like, you know what are some other movie adaptations that actually do okay that you just kind of forget? Maybe you find them in the dollar bins. Maybe you find them in a cheap discount section at your shop. And the next one I want to talk about, and this ties into what I just kind of did with the Brooks Kim cover, the Blade Runner. I did a Blade Runner. That was the 2019 series, but let's go back to the original Blade Runner adaptation. Marvel also put out a 2-issue series covering Blade Runner with adapting that film. So we have this issue 1 from back in the day, and then there was also issue 2. Again, these are it. This is it. 2 issues, 1 and 2. You get the whole thing, and these do okay. I mean, again, it's not going to set the world on fire if you find them, but I mean, $20 for the set. Individual copies are selling around that $10 to $15 each kind of mark. So, yeah, it's not too bad if you can find them for cheap. Asking prices on these again are anywhere from $10 to $20 individually, $15. You can see some sets out there that are also in the kind of like 25, 30, $35 range. It really depends. It's a crapshoot what you're going to get out there. And there's also the direct and the newsstand versions. But considering the timeline when this came out in 1982, it's not really a rarity to find the newsstand at the time. So don't go paying a premium for that. I mean, higher grade might cost a little bit more, but if you find these for cheap, this is just kind of for fun. Just make sure you know what you're doing and what you're looking for, and what you find. If you're interested and you like it, then go ahead buy it. As long as you know where the market is. Find that it's a good price, then pick it up for yourself if you're interested. I'm a big fan of the original Blade Runner movie personally, and let's not forget, it's not just this series. Before this 2-issue series was released, Marvel had a series of specials that basically adapted movies to the comics. That's a whole nother subset that we can use for this, and those are those Marvel specials. And I think it was issue 22 was the Blade Runner one, right? Yep, issue 22. I found this for $5 at my one of my LCSs back in the day, and I was happy to scoop this one up. So again, this is all in one. This is the official adaptation of Blade Runner. I think this one came first, and then they kind of redid it in the other 2 issues. But this one, does okay. It does okay. Like I said, I was able to find it for $5, so I lucked into that. But copies sell anywhere from like $15, $20, $30. You can see some of these are at auction, so it's not even just buy it now. It's like there are some bids here going on, so people are aware of this book and people are looking for it apparently. Asking prices are again $30 to $45. There are some cheaper. Obviously, there's going to be some more expensive. There's graded copies are going to be more expensive, but this is just kind of give you a ballpark range of most of the asks right now in that kind of $30 to $45 range for this book. And like I said, I was happy to find it for $5. So that's the kind of hidden gem I'm telling you to go look for, because hopefully you get luck into this and you find it at your shop. You're like, hey, it was only $5, and you just found yourself a $30 to $45 book. That's what I'm talking about. All right, I got one more, and as we go forward with the movie adaptations subset, they probably will be a good number of horror movies included, because there are a lot of horror adaptation comics out there, and a lot of them are, there's a market for them. There are collectors. There's a lot of horror collectors that love that stuff that don't normally collect comics that are looking for things like that. And the one I want to talk about this week was one that kind of took me off guard. It's kind of stumbled into this. Don't know much about it. Don't even really remember the movie. And that's The Willies. I don't even really remember this movie, The Willies, but there was an adaptation from back, I think it's 91. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll puke, you'll die. I mean, what a tagline to have at the top of the book. But this thing, I couldn't even find a recently sold copy of it. It's not the kind of thing you see a lot of or see a bunch of them out there. But what did, gain my interest is I saw the listed copies. And this thing doesn't sell for cheap. So if you find one, the cheapest copy I saw out there was like $110 raw. These are all raw, up to $400. There's a lot of copies, $150, $300, $250. Like there's maybe under 10, I think, out there on the market right now. And this is just a little cross section, give you a sense of the range that this crazy book, if you can find this, The Willies, out at your shop, what it could go for, or what people are asking for it, I should say. Because as you can see, none have sold recently. These are just asking prices. Just because people ask it, don't mean that that's what it's worth either. But it does give you a sense of what people are expecting out of this. So just keep that in mind as well. So $100 to $400 for this thing. I'll look for it. And if I find a cheap one, I'll definitely grab it just for the chance that maybe you get that kind of level of return on this book. But yeah, who knows? Okay, going to move on to our next segment. I think I got 2 more for you. And our next one is going to be variants. And I do have a theme for this week's variants. These are all going to be 1 in 10s. And these are going to be 1 in 10s out of a little chunk of the Batman run. So let's take a look here. I was so glad when I found these. I found this run for cheap. I think they were $1 or $2 each. I think I paid for these. Maybe up to $4. I definitely paid cover price and less for these, and I was happy I found this run. But this first one, 1 in 10. These are all Tony Daniel covers. These 1 in 10s. This is Batman 679. As you can see, it's the Batman Zorana. If you remember that run, so crazy Grant Morrison run. Pretty cool comics to begin with. There's I think this is the one that has a Alex Ross cover on it, which is really nice. But this is a pretty cool variant as well. So this thing, Ain't cheap these days. I looked at the prices. If you can find this, it's only a 1 in 10, mind you. So 1 in 10, a lot of shops will have it. It's Batman. It's a pretty popular title. There are copies out there. So this isn't a chasing ghost contender, but pricing, best offer on 135 bucks. 250 for a 9.6 sold recently. Best offer on 180 for a 9.6. $400 sold for a 9.8. Those are some pretty hefty prices for this book. I mean, it was only the one raw that I could find too. It was 100, best offer 135. So if I figure it's probably around 100 bucks. And then even the asking prices are still in that range. You can look at it. There's a 9.4 looking for 240 bucks. There's a 9.6 asking for $400. And then there's raw copies that are both right around that $200 mark. Raw for a 1 in 10. Pretty sure I still have this one sitting around here somewhere. I don't think I got rid of this one, but maybe I did, and I'll regret it if I did. But I told you I didn't pay much for mine. But here's 679. So we're gonna do the next few issues again, all 1 in 10s, all Tony Daniel covers. This is pretty fun. Batman versus the Joker. Yeah, Joker's a little slender here. Got those little suspenders rocking on thing. This is when we had the face cut. This is like when they really went kind of dark and macabre with Batman during this run. I mean, the Joker during this run. This is a 1 in 10. Tony Daniel. Only one I could find that sold on this one was a graded copy, and it was I think it was a 9.8 that sold for a best offer 190, which ain't too bad when you think about it. Especially when you consider the asking prices for this one could be as cheap as 45 bucks raw to as high as $135 raw for this 1 in 10. Again, it's just a 1 in 10. It's not a high ratio incentive. And then there's 9.8 looking for 200 bucks. So pricing's kind of all over. But if it's something you can find out there and you find it for a good price, just keep it in mind. These Grant Morrison, Tony Daniel covers are pretty cool. Now, the next one doesn't spotlight the Joker, unfortunately, but still a fun little cover. You got Batman kind of digging himself out of the grave. I don't know if you remember this story, this weird little backup Batman that he made in his mind, the Zoran to Batman of the Batman. I don't know. Crazy Grant Morrison idea. But 1 in 10, Tony Daniel, just like the others. This one has sold for best offer on 100 bucks. It sold for 20 bucks raw, 160 for a 9.8. Those are recent sales. Asking prices, however, 25 bucks raw up to $120 raw. Like I said, wide range on some of these things. And then 250 is asking price on a 9.8. So just keep that in mind when you're out there digging. And then I got one more for you. And this last one I'm just going to cover is actually one of the shorts that I did recently because I've had these planned to do for a while. These Morrison Batman 1 in 10s. And I really like this one. This is probably my favorite of the bunch. This is 682. This is close up, really creepy look at the Joker's jacked up face. So once again, Tony Daniel, 1 in 10. And surprisingly, none have sold recently. In the last 3 months, no copies of this has sold, which I found surprising. But much like the others, when you look at the asking prices, could be anywhere from like 55, 60 bucks on the lower end raw up to like 90 bucks. So the pricing is kind of all over. And there's a 9.8 looking for almost 200 bucks. So that's what you're looking at here with these 1 in 10s. So keep that in mind if you're out there digging and you hit those Batman sections. Just look. Again, another way to check if these are variants at the time is check that barcode because all of these will end in 2-1. 1 because it's first print, but if the second to last number of the barcode is a 2, that means it's a variant. DC wasn't doing like B covers at the time, so any of the variants were incentives, whatever the incentive might have been, whether it be a 1 in 25, a 1 in 10. These just all happen to be 1 in 10, and they did a lot of 1 in 10s at that time. So that's usually what the 2-1, the 21 at the end of the barcode will let you know. So just keep that in mind too, if you're unsure. Because there's other covers too. I didn't cover them all. There's a few more. These are just a little handful that I felt like spotlighting because of Joker and some of the pricing. So keep an eye out for them. One more section, one more segment for this week, and we are going to hit up my nostalgia. My nostalgia picks. I'm going to go back to when I was a young collector out there looking for my Image books, looking for that Valiant stuff, still doing the Marvel, still doing the DC, the glorious, glorious early 90s, where we also were introduced to some fun titles from Malibu. Yes, Malibu Comics. I know what you're probably thinking, and I'm saving this for another time. We were not touching Ultraverse today. I was going to, But I was like, you know what? That's going to be too much. That's a lot to cover because there's other stuff outside of the Ultraverse. Prime, Nightman, Firearm, The Strangers, all those weird titles from back in the day. Did I ever say Prototype? Prototype, Sludge, Rune. Yeah, I remember all of them too. I mean, some of them even had a TV show. There was a Nightman TV show. There was like video games. They were a big deal. They were right in there. Malibu was right in the mix at the time. But before the Ultraverse, there were some other titles that Malibu was publishing that I just think is kind of fun. These do not sell. This first batch. These don't sell for a ton. So don't think you're going to be rich if you find these in a box. And the first series I want to talk about here is X Mutants. I just remember looking at these and finding these like, what is this? Is this like X-Men knockoffs? It's crazy, fun little title. I mean, that's kind of what these were. These were other superhero stories, other superhero books, and sometimes you had some artists that you might know who worked on them. I think Paul Pelletier worked on this. He later worked on some of the Guardian stuff and things like that. I like his art, so this is kind of early work by him. I don't know if it's first or not. It's just early. I'm not digging that deep into it. But the X Mutants, I see these in dollar bins all the time. So for fun, if you want to look, you can go digging in those dollar bins. We got, again, it's issue 1, just showing you random ones, 15. It was only 18 issue series. It ran all the way through to 18. You can see that final one there. Definitely had that kind of their art style was more on the Maximum side of things, like Liefeld, Marat Michaels, those guys. Even Dan Panosian back in the day was working over there. That kind of style is what this was more aimed at. It's not like the Jim Lee or the Todd McFarlane. This was more of the Liefeld house style at the time is what they were shooting for, I think. But just to give you an idea of what the X Mutants sell for, again, you're not going to get rich if you find these in a box, but it's kind of fun to look for them. There's some lots that sell for like $25 or even just $12. Like I said, it's an 18 issue series. Individual issues can only sell for $1 or $2. Not expensive stuff at all. $35 for the whole 18 issue set. So if you can collect a set, maybe you can get extra. So if you buy these in a dollar box, you spend $18, you can get 35. Well, I guess it's worth it if you can find them all. But otherwise, it's just a lot of work for very little return. Fair point. I'm not saying you're going to get rich with these, but it's still kind of a fun title, and it just makes me, remember this stuff to kind of look back on. Asking prices are in that same kind of range. Not an expensive thing. Yes, in a lot of 17 Malibu books is asking $50. There's individual issues at auction for like $1 to $3. Not pricey things at all. So keep that in mind. All right, the next series in that Malibu, not in the Malibu, but that Malibu did back in the day that I think is kind of fun, and I always smile when I find it, is Dinosaurs for Hire. Yeah, I mean, you got dinosaurs holding machine guns. It's kind of silly. It's kind of fun. It's kind of out there. And they had some cool covers too on some of these things. There's issue 1 right there, dead center in the middle. And you got the Jurassic Park kind of homage, obviously. I mean, you got a Dinosaurs for Hire title. You got to do a Jurassic Park if it's the early 90s. You got to do it, right? And then it only ran 12 issues, wrapping up this Genesis storyline. That kind of looks like, classic superhero title. It almost looks like a Prime cover that they're homaging themselves with, Dinosaurs for Hire. But once again, if you find them, they're not super duper expensive. I think these might, being that kind of same range, maybe sell for a couple of bucks more. As you can see, individuals selling for like $2 to $5. But that's really it. You're not going to get rich finding these. These are just kind of fun. It's kind of a fun, again, scavenger hunt kind of idea. And yes, this may fit dollar bin digging more, but I still think it was kind of part of a nostalgia play here. So that's why I threw them in. Once again, just kind of for fun. Available copies too. You can see lots of like 2 issues could sell for like $8. So you're looking at $3 to $4 each. A huge lot of 1 through 11 for $70. I think it only ran 12 issues, right? And then there was, I think, a variant for the first cover for issue 1. But then there's $7 to get you the ash can included. So some of these are very cheap. Some of these are a little more expensive. It's a crapshoot what people are asking for. But I'm just telling you, if you find it in a shop, the price looks fun to you and it's worth it, and be like, you know what? That's a pretty fun, pretty cool Jurassic Park homage. They only want $2 or $3 for it. You know what? It's worth $3 to me. Again, I don't know if you're going to get it back. I'm not telling you you're going to make a ton of money on this. It's more of just fun things that I think are cool. And this is kind of what the market is, just so you know. So you don't overpay either for this stuff. Don't overpay, but if you underpay, nothing wrong with that. Now, the last series I will say that I'm going to cover here for Malibu actually may make you a couple of bucks because I wasn't aware these sold as well as they do. But as I mentioned before, horror titles do have a separate niche of collectors who will pay a premium for some of these things. And the series I want to talk about here is Necroscope. So it's adapted by Martin Powell, so Brian Lumley. Pretty cool. You got the whole vampire kind of thing. These had some pretty awesome covers, as you can see here. This is the cover for issue 1. We're going to move on to showing you. There's 1. Then we got issue 2, really zombified and like the fangs. Issue 3, really cool stuff. I like these. These are really cool covers. And here I'm going to go into 4 and 5. I kept issue 1 in the middle just to kind of keep it balanced, but issue 4 and 5 there on the outsides. And then we can see this actually sells all right. So the whole, well, actually like the whole, this issue says issue 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 plus the variant, $40. Then we got another 1 through 5. Also, we've got $40 recently, and then another one sold kind of cheaper, 1 through 5, that only sold for $15. So it's only a 5-issue series. There is a variant for issue 1 to keep an eye out for. It's got like I think a little foil kind of thing on it. I didn't get a good image to put in here. Plus, I thought this cover was way better, so I just decided to spotlight this regular one instead of that little holofoil type deal. But there is another cover out there. As you can see, this 5-issue set can get like $40 if you can find them all. Asking prices here, individual issues as well, anywhere from like $8 to $15. So it's kind of interesting thing. Again, you're not going to become rich if you find these, but if you find them in like $1 box, $2, it might be worth your time to grab the whole set if they got the whole set. So keep that in mind as well. You buy these $2 a piece, $10 for all 5, and you can get 40 for it. That's not a bad return, right? So just let you know, in case you didn't know about Necroscope, that this is a Malibu title that, can get you a couple bucks if you find it. Again, I'll save the Ultraverse stuff for the next time or another time. We'll get into that. Don't worry about it. Not that there's a lot of those that are worth a lot of money, but the mantra and all that stuff. A lot of fun stuff to go and be nostalgic about, though. And with that all said, that's all I got for you this week. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you found some of these interesting. Hopefully you guys still like That Should Be a Cover. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm not going to just do it every week. Next week, I might kind of combo it and do the artist retrospective along with maybe just do a couple of covers that could also fit the That Should Be a Cover. That's kind of my plan. We'll see. Going to work out. I got a bunch of stuff still to cover and share with you guys, and I'm just kind of picking and choosing what seems the most interesting every week as I start rolling. So I put this together today, throwing this up tonight. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you're there and joining me in the live chat, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with Chasing Ghosts and the Tax Show live here on Rennavision on Wednesday. And with that, I'll see you guys later. All right.